Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know, really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know, really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
Or stare into the unknown, 'cause you're a strong girl. You got this, I feel the fight in you. Strong girl, positive, you're gonna see this through. Like a straight up miracle, you're a force to behold. In the face of
out for traffic lights. And I really wanna know, if I'll ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know, if I'll ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
Good morning, everyone. Reverend Derek here. Welcome to the Love is Greater Than Fear Spiritual Center. I am so excited to be back. We haven't had a live talk, I think, in like 6 weeks. I had COVID, then I went to Israel. And so we just took the month of June off, but I'm so excited. I love spending Sundays with you guys and having the opportunity to share messages of spiritual truth as I understand them. So we're going to be having a great talk today. We're going to be talking about the mystical Jesus. I was just in the Holy Land. I got to check out some really, really cool stuff while I was over there. Got to learn a lot of stuff about Jesus, go to Nazareth, Bethlehem, all over. And it was a very powerful experience. It was a very interesting experience. So in today's talk, we're going to be talking about the mystical Jesus. And I'm also going to share with you guys some photos I took while I was over there. So before we get started, let's do our morning prayer. Let's do our morning prayer first. So if you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. Dear God, this morning we invite you into our minds, into our hearts. We ask that you bless the conversation, you bless the talk today, you bless the meditation. I ask that you bless everyone who is watching, whether they're watching live or they're watching a replay, that their lives be filled with more grace, more love, more hope, more joy, more peace, that their minds be renewed, their hearts transformed, and that all be well in their lives. I'm going to take a moment to send our love to everyone who is worshiping today, regardless of their religious or spiritual path, whether they gather together in a church, in a mosque, in a temple, their living room, wherever they might be gathering. Dear God, we send them our love, knowing that we're all one in the mind of God, knowing that our thoughts, our prayers, our actions impact one another, that there is a chain reaction. And whether we're sitting in love or we're sitting in fear, we're creating more of that for the collective. So in this moment, we send out love to everyone. We send out love to our family. We send out love to our friends. We send out love to our city. We send out love to the people that govern our states. We send out our love to everyone across the United States, regardless of race, gender, political affiliation, regardless of any seeming difference. We send out our love, for we are all one in the mind of God. And that love transforms, that peace transforms, that joy transforms. And when we remember that, we remember who we are. And so it is. And together we say, Amen. So excited to be back with you guys. So before we hop into the talk, just a couple quick announcements. I do want to mention I have bronchitis, so I apologize in advance for the coughing that you're going to be hearing throughout today's talk. All right. So for those of you, if you've never watched before, if you're new to the Love is Greater Than Fear Spiritual Center, I want to share with you a little bit about who we are. So we are a virtual spiritual center founded last year. We do weekly spiritual talks and meditations every Sunday at 10 a.m. Our vision is to be a spiritual place for personal and planetary awakening. You'll find that everything comes back to what am I doing as an individual and how is it impacting the collective, just like we prayed about. Our mission is to support awakening by living and teaching universal spiritual principles of love, peace, and joy. We do this by offering classes, workshops, counseling that promotes the healing and transformation necessary for our personal and planetary awakening. Who is welcome? Everyone is welcome, all right? Our community is for all of God's children, and if you are alive and you are breathing, you are one of God's children. So regardless of your gender, your race, your sexual orientation, your nationality, your religious background, your political affiliation, or any other seeming difference, you are welcome. We believe that all of God's children deserve a life of peace, love, freedom, and creative expression. We believe in the dismantling of the thought system of fear that would hinder any person's purpose on earth. We also believe in love and equality for all. What do we teach? God is our Father and our source. All of his children are one and equal. God is eternally speaking to and guiding us. Miracles are natural and are our birthright. Miracles are shifts in perception from fear to love. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. And one of the biggest ones here, if I had to pinpoint it down to just the one major thing that I believe and that we teach here, is that prayer and meditation will transform any life. Also, love, peace, and forgiveness are our purposes here on earth. And when one of us awakens, the entire planet heals. So join me this morning in saying our spiritual declaration together. I surrender this day to God, that he may lead me to deeper peace, greater love, and fuller life expression. I surrender all my fears and desires to him. I ask that he show me the path from fear to love. Amen. So, do you need a little extra spiritual guidance this week? So if beyond the talk today, you find that you still need you are looking for some extra ways that we can support you on your spiritual journey, we do have prayer assistance right on the website. I've also posted it in the comments right here. You can submit a prayer request and we will pray for you for the next 30 days. If you're looking for some ongoing classes, we have a spiritual awakening class and a healing of the inner child class. These are 8-week spiritual transformation programs. These are one-on-one during via teleconference. They're $250. We do have scholarships available for people who cannot pay. Just reach out to me. Let me know. If you're looking for some counseling, we have our Accessing Inner Wisdom counseling sessions. These are 60 minutes. This is a 60-minute meditative process. So this isn't life coaching. This really isn't like typical counseling. What this is, it's a 60-minute meditative process where I'm going to walk you through a meditation to help you gain clarity and insight from your own inner wisdom. Get your own answers for whatever problem you might be suffering. These are $75 a session. Nobody is turned away for inability to pay. Now, I'm excited about this. All right, so we're going to start doing weekly discussion groups. So if you watch these talks, I talk a lot about A Course in Miracles, right? You don't have to study A Course in Miracles to get something from these talks or to be a part of this spiritual center, but that is what I teach from. That's the book I live by. And it's been very transformative. It's been very helpful in helping me heal my life. So we're going to start doing weekly discussion groups every Tuesday at 6 o'clock starting July 19th. You will get emails about that. I did not get the landing page, the form filled out, completed yet. So you'll see me posting that later, but pay attention to your emails. What those are going to look like is we're going to have, I'll send out weekly a couple different passages from A Course in Miracles to read. We'll get together for an hour on Tuesday evenings, and we will, via video, and we will talk about A Course in Miracles and what's going on in our lives. It's going to be a great way for us to support one another. Also, you can find us on social media, so Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that great stuff. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. There could be somebody in your life today who's going through a tough time, and maybe this talk would be helpful for them. So be sure to share that so that we can help reach more people with our message of personal and planetary awakening. Oops, jumped ahead of myself. All right. So today we're talking about the mystical Jesus. So it's interesting for me. I didn't grow up in a religious household. I grew up reading comic books. Reading comic books were my church. That's what I did. That's where I read about like fantastic, characters and superheroes that were doing great things and teaching great lessons. And that's really where I got my spiritual education as a kid. It was like really, really from comic books, Wonder Woman, Superman, the X-Men all have incredible lessons to teach people. So that's where I got a lot of that. It was later in life that I started paying attention to Jesus. It was later in life that I was like kind of interested in him. And part of the reason I got interested in Jesus was because I had learned through taking some mythology classes and some story writing classes and reading books on how to write comic books. I learned that Jesus had actually been used as an archetype for a lot of those characters, one of them being Superman. Superman was created by two Jewish men who based a lot of, who based his archetype off of Jesus. Superman has a lot of things in common with Jesus. He is, the last son of Krypton. Jesus is the son of God. Superman has all of his powers. Jesus can create miracles. And then both of them, have a place where they go communicate with their father. For Superman, he goes to his fortress of solitude, where he speaks with his father to get guidance. And then Jesus goes to the garden where he speaks with his father to get guidance. Both of them, in ways, sacrifice themselves for the betterment of mankind. So it's kind of hard to read comic books and be interested in mythology and stuff and not make your way to Jesus. And yet Jesus comes with a lot of baggage. When I was preparing for my trip to Israel, and while I was there visiting, I got asked all the time, what made you want to go do this this journey? Why did you want to go check out these holy sites? Are you Jewish? Are you Christian? Are you really religious? I did not have a good answer for any of that, because to say that I am Christian carries a lot of baggage and implications that are not going to be true for me, right? I believe in God and I believe in the teachings of Jesus, but I don't believe in doctrine. I don't believe in dogma. I don't believe in telling other people what to do. Here in the context of our spiritual center, I can tell you, people who believe in meditation and pray, hey, you should meditate and pray. But beyond that, there's not going to be any, you should do this or you should do that, right? And so Jesus comes with a lot of that baggage. And it's really unfair. It's sometimes when I talk to people about Jesus, I have to remind them Christ and Christianity are not the same thing. Buddha and Buddhism are not the same thing. And even with my understanding of Islam, Muhammad and Islam and what happens politically, like that's just not the same thing. So today we're going to be talking about the mystical Jesus. What I want to start with is, let me finish my thought there. So I was listening to Marianne Williamson, and she said that someone referred to her as religiously polyamorous. And I was like, that works for me. That works for me. So this month, we're going to be talking about a variety of spiritual masters. Today, we're going to talk about Jesus. Next week, we'll talk about Buddha. And then we'll do a whole series of that. This month, I think that spiritual masters are really important people to learn from. And here's the thing. As we talk about spiritual masters this month, it's up to you what you want to take from these stories. I was talking about Superman earlier. I read a lot of Wonder Woman comic books growing up, and there were stories I read of hers 20, 30 years ago that still impact me today. She has this one comic book where she's going up against one of her biggest nemesis, Cersei. And in this moment where she's about to strike down this evil witch, she stops herself. And she instead offers her hand to this evil witch, Cersei, and says something along the lines of, vengeance is for those who have forgotten who they are. I am not going to forget who I am. And then I remember seeing the guy who wrote and illustrated that comic book, having an opportunity to meet him in real life, Phil Jimenez. And he was talking about his love of Superman. And he talked about how in his love of Superman, that when he was a kid, he read this comic book where Superman said he never drank alcohol. And so Phil talked about how he never had one sip of alcohol because of reading that about Superman. Later on, I had a friend of mine, and she grew up in like the 50s reading Superman comic books. And she told me how she read in the Superman comic book that if you're going to be in a car accident, if your car spins out of control, how you should relax your body and not be all tense. And that stayed in her mind. And then one day she was in a car accident. And as the car spun out of control, she just relaxed her body. She walked away with no broken bones. Now, I share that with you guys because stories can impact us. They can have a huge impact on our lives. So the story of Jesus, and next week as we talk about Buddha, whether or not they're real in the way they've been told and they've been translated and they've been communicated throughout the past several hundred years, doesn't really matter. What matters is if when you hear this story, here's the thing, even if the story isn't true, it is true. Even if the story of Jesus Christ isn't true historically in the way that it's told, the idea that we are not our bodies and can be reborn anew is true. What he said is true. His teachings are true. So I just want to invite you as we go through these talks these next couple of weeks to keep that in mind. You can see these stories as toys, right? Like the Wonder Woman story, the Superman toy. You could look at a Superman story. You can look at those as toys, and they will just have that meaning to you. They will just be toys to you. But if you see them as the spiritual principles and the powers that hold this universe together, they will then have that much power and meaning for you to help you transform your life. So keep that in mind. I'm going to pop up some slides right now. I want to just show you guys some pictures from my trip. Excuse me. So here's one of the beautiful things. Whether you believe in Jesus or you don't, there was so much art and so much history to appreciate in Israel. So what you're looking at here on your screen is the Church of Enunciation. So this is the spot that, according to tradition, this is where the Virgin Mary got the message from the angel Gabriel that she would be carrying the Son of God. So what they've done here is they've located a cave that they believe to be the cave where she was living. and they built a church around it. And it was really fascinating learning the history about all of this, because typically, like, all these religious sites are um, caves and spots that they then built a church around. And then throughout history, one religious group would come over, tear down that church, and then the next one would come over and build on top of it. So it was really fascinating, as you could see the various foundations. So for this church, you could see like the foundation from like the original land, and then on top of that, another church, and then on top of that, this church, which I think, I'm not going to get this right, I think has been around since the 1500s. I'm not sure. I probably might be wrong on that. I got an overload of history in Israel. So right here, what you're seeing on the second image, this is the cave that allegedly, the Virgin Mary and Joseph lived in when she got the message from the angel Gabriel that she was with child. Right here, what you're seeing is the Church of Nativity. So you know that after she found out she was pregnant with Jesus, she fled, right? So they fled, and she ends up giving birth to Jesus in Bethlehem. So I got to go to Palestine, which was really an interesting experience. So first picture is me outside of the Church of Nativity. And then what you see in the second image is this is the star that they have on like this ground place where people walk up and place their hand and you can say a prayer. And it's just a beautiful thing. It's where Jesus, according to tradition, was born. And as you know from the story, that afterwards, they eventually go back closer to Nazareth, and where Jesus starts his ministry. He gets kicked out of Nazareth, and he travels around the Sea of Galilee with his ministry. This is supposed to be a video right here, but I guess my slide did not transfer. The Sea of Galilee was beautiful. Interesting thing about back then, they didn't have the same definitions for like seas and lakes. So this is actually a lake, not like a sea. But it was just beautiful. It was so beautiful. I think my favorite thing was sitting at the church here and just watching the ocean and just, kind of like feeling into the consciousness of this guy from 2,000 years ago, walking around with his ministry, telling people very simply, love one another, love your God, be kind, forgive, reminding people that is done unto you as you believe, the power of your belief. Some very simple, beautiful stuff. During this trip, we also went to the Jordan River. What was really beautiful is a lot of these holy sites would have artwork and signs posted in every culture and in every language. So the Church of Enunciation had all these beautiful murals of the Virgin Mary and child. And it would be pieces donated from Mexico, and it'd be a Mexican-inspired Virgin Mary and Jesus. Then there was a Japanese one, a Russian one, an Iranian one, from all around the world. They were so freaking beautiful. And then here on the Jordan River, you could see they had this same Bible quote in some 20, 30 languages as you walked up to the entrance to the baptismal site. While there, I got to put on a robe, get baptized in the Jordan River with catfish swimming all around my feet. It really looks like catfish, and it was quite a beautiful experience. I wouldn't say it was the experience I was expecting, but I just definitely felt like a deep calmness while I was over in the Middle East, right? And as an Americans, from what we hear about the Middle East is like this dangerous, scary place. But I felt so at peace over here in the Holy Lands. These are some photos from Jerusalem. Forgive my iPhone 11 for not being better. You can see here, this is just the old city. This is when we first got into Jerusalem. One of the first things we see. This is a road from Jesus's time that they've managed to keep. Was an interesting thing that I learned while I was there is that the tour guide mentioned that a lot of people are like kind of turned off by the idea that they get to the old city where Jesus was crucified, and there's all these stores everywhere for people to shop. But they reminded us that even in Jesus's day, this was a market. This was a place for people to shop. So it's actually very realistic. While we were there, and so this is all in the old city. This is the Western Wall, the remnant of the temple. got to see a lot of Jewish people there praying. It was beautiful. While I was there, you get to take a piece of paper, write down a prayer. I wrote down a prayer for the Love is Greater Than Fear Spiritual Center. And as you can see, I got to place it right there in the rock in this third image right there. It was a beautiful experience. Now, as we were journeying through the old city, we come across Via Dolorosa. So this is the path where Jesus would have carried his cross. I don't even have words to describe the feeling of walking through these old roads and through this market, imagining this, innocent man, this Jewish man carrying his cross towards his death. It was quite an experience. So right here, you can see this is, down the path that we went. Right here on this third image, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse to see what I'm pointing at, but that third image, so in the Bible, there's a scene where Jesus falls and his hand touches a rock. So according to tradition, this is the rock that he touched. People walk up, they place their hands in it, say a prayer. And then right here, this is Jesus's tomb. So as you're going through the old city, you finally get to this giant church. Interesting thing about this church, there's 5 different religions that own this church. I think it was like Orthodox Greeks, Coptic Egyptians, the Catholics, and a couple more. Interesting thing about that is that those 5 religions, owned that church, but the same Muslim family has been managing that church for 800 years. And the tour guide told us to that, and he was like, that's Jerusalem. And it was just so mind-opening because, again, like I said before, when as an American, when I think of the Middle East, I used to think of like this scary place. But to see all of these religions living peacefully together, at least for the moment, at least from what I could see, was really beautiful. So this is Jesus's burial site, the tomb. Right here next to that, you can see as we're going into the tomb, you could not take pictures inside. So I don't have pictures of inside the tomb to show you. Outside of that temple, there is this table where Jesus would have been laid down, and it's a tradition to go place objects on that table as if it was an altar and bless them and pray over them. The idea is that you bless them and then you bring them back home, and that brings the light of God, the light of Jesus Christ, back to your home and back into your life. While I was there, I got this cross necklace and a couple gifts for some friends. Mary Ellen, if you're watching, that's me blessing your scarf. And it was a really beautiful experience. And then there in the image next to it, so as we were going through all these places, they have a frame over a split in the ground, which would have been, if you remember from the Bible, when Jesus is crucified and when he dies, there's an earthquake to bring down the temple. And allegedly, according to tradition, this is evidence of that earthquake. So I hope you guys enjoyed those photos. It was such a great experience. And regardless of what you think about Jesus, the historical context, the art, like that was just incredible. I mean, I live in Arizona. I've never seen a building that was more than maybe 100 years old, right? Arizona doesn't have ancient things like that. The Indians that lived here, the Native Americans that lived here, were typically nomads, didn't leave a bunch of buildings for us to go check out and stuff like that. So this was such a great experience from just historical and cultural perspective. I was just seeing all these churches and these buildings that were hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years old. So it was just great. Now, I want to talk about Course in Miracles for a moment. Well, not for a moment, for the rest of my life, but let's talk about Course in Miracles. So I started reading A Course in Miracles several years ago. And actually, the first time someone handed me a copy, I was not interested. I was just like, no, thank you. I looked at the book. Where is it? And a couple things I didn't like about A Course in Miracles. Too long. No author on the front. Used a lot of Christic language, which at the time I was not open to. And it didn't have any chapters on how to get a man, how to make money, like none of that stuff. It was just not something I thought I would ever be into. One of my biggest problems was it didn't have an author. And then I started learning about, and then I was just like, I got to a point in life where like, shit had just hit the fan, sorry. And I needed help. And that was the book that helped me. And so when I started reading it, I was just, I didn't even notice the language. It uses very Christic language. One thing I want to say is like, Christianity doesn't have a monopoly on Jesus. Jesus is a gift to everyone, and Christianity doesn't own that. And so I view Jesus through a lens of love, free of doctrine and free of dogma. And I think it's really important to look at him that way, kind of like the way I like to think of Jesus in the same way that a Buddhist would think of Buddha. Now, what was I going to say? So I start reading the book, and what's really interesting is there's no author on the cover of A Course in Miracles, but then as you start reading the book, you notice that some of the passages start to be in first person. And as you're reading these passages in first person, you start to get the clue of who wrote this book. Now, there's a whole fantastic story that goes along with how A Course in Miracles was created. It was created by, I don't know if created is even the right word. Back in the 60s, there was two clinical psychologists that they channeled this book, they transcribed it, whatever words you want to use. I don't think we'll go into the story right now. We'll save that for another time. But it's very clear the further you get into A Course in Miracles, who is speaking to us. And initially, I wasn't interested in that. I didn't want to have a relationship with Jesus, didn't really want to read about Jesus, but here I am. So I want to read to you guys from, I think this is from chapter 1, let's see. This is chapter 2, I think, Revelation, Time, and Miracles from A Course in Miracles. Awe should be reserved for revelation, to which it is perfectly and correctly applicable. It is not appropriate for miracles because a state of awe is worshipful, implying that one of a lesser order stands before his creator. You are a perfect creation and should experience awe only in the presence of the creator of perfection. The miracle is therefore a sign of love among equals. Equals should not be in awe of one another because awe implies inequality. It is therefore an inappropriate reaction to me. I remember reading that and being like, me, who is this me? An elder brother is entitled to respect for his greater experience and obedience for his greater wisdom. He is also entitled to love because he is a brother, and to devotion if he is devoted. It is only my devotion that entitles me to yours. Now here, this is a good one right here. There is nothing about me that you cannot attain. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. This leaves me in a state which is only potential in you. So what is he saying here? A Course in Miracles' perspective of Jesus is to think of him as an elder brother, someone whose mind and heart has already been healed and who has attained a state that only exists as a potential in you and I. He says the only difference between you and him is that there is nothing about me that you cannot attain. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. So God has given us everything. We exist as perfect creatures with everything that we need, all the love, all the peace, all the joy, all the perfection, all the abundance that we need to sustain us. The living God lives within each and every single one of us. The difference between us and Jesus is that Jesus has just that, just the love, just the perfection, just the peace. He does not have our obsession with guilt, our obsession with shame. He doesn't have our fears. He doesn't have our insecurities. He doesn't have all of those troubles that weigh us down. I've been reading the New Testament a lot lately, and one of the things that seems to come up over and over is he talks about how he will take away our burdens. That Jesus will take away your burden and take away your guilt and your shame and your fears, your insecurities, your anxiety, your depression. If you are experiencing any of those things in your life right now, any type of addiction, whether it's in a substance or it's addiction to thoughts, emotions, to people, whatever it might be a good time to consider some type of relationship with Jesus. Now, that's only if that feels true to you or feels right for you. The Course in Miracles goes on to talk about how when the world, as we know it, was created, it calls it a detour into fear. It says that millions of years ago in time as we understand it, the sons of God, meaning all of us, took a detour into fear, meaning we forgot who we were and decided, that we would be separate from God. And then in one split second, the universe was created. So this goes along very much with the Big Bang Theory, that in one split moment, there was the universe. And in this universe, we think that we are separate from God. And because we think we are separate from God, we experience ourselves as separate from love, separate from peace, separate from joy, separate from our abundance, separate from one another. And this is what leads to chaos and fear and pain in our lives. Now, in that moment, God being God, always providing a solution. And so the solution came with there being an inner teacher, an inner guide, the Christ consciousness, the perfection that exists within each and every single one of us, no matter what. This voice for God is there to help guide us back home. Home being back to our true nature, home being our inner peace. Now, the word Jesus just happens to be one word that is meant to remind the mind of its connection with God. So that's why Jesus help me. That's why people use that word. That one word used in any language reminds the mind of its nature, of its true nature and its connection with God. Takes us back to that peace, that joy, that perfection. I recommend, if you feel comfortable, I know everyone has different feelings, thoughts, and attitudes about Jesus, but if you feel comfortable, over the next week, when you find yourself getting crazy, right? The term Jesus, the phrase Jesus saves, the only thing that we need to be saved from is our own craziness and our own insanity. That's the only thing we need saved from. That's what that's what Jesus saves means. So as you go into your week this week, I encourage you to, if it feels comfortable, Jesus help me. Jesus reminds me. As I'm reading the Bible and as I've been reading Jesus stories and as I was in the Middle East, I kept thinking, wow, how do people read this stuff and learn about him and hate? Those things don't go together. Sitting there, I got to go to the Church of Multiplication where he fed people the bread, where he multiplied the loaves of bread and the wine. And you can see the hill where everybody sat as he did this. And there's a church built there and the Sea of Galilee is right there. And it's so peaceful and beautiful. And it's just sit there thinking, how can you learn about him? How can you pray to him and hate people and want to strip away? It's interesting that while I'm there in Israel, having this experience, over here in the United States, the abortion laws were changing, right? And a lot of the people that were for that were Christian nationalists, who I saw so much hate from them. And then I also saw a lot of hate from other people coming at the Christians in general. It was such a weird experience because while that was all happening, I was over in Israel having this profound experience, what felt profound to me with Jesus. And I'm just like, how can people hate in his name? Like where am I misreading this? Where am I misunderstanding it? Where is this hatred coming from? And I had to remind myself that in the Course of Miracles, it tells us there is only love and there is only fear. Anyone, no matter what your spiritual source material, if you're reading the Bible, if you're reading the Quran, if you're reading A Course in Miracles, if you're reading the Kama Sutra, if you want to read it through a lens of fear, you will see reasons to hate. You will see reasons to kill. You will see reasons to lie and do terrible things. Doesn't matter what you read, right? You can take A Course in Miracles, read it through the lens of fear. I know there are students out there, that's how they perceive it, is through fear, and their version of A Course in Miracles, whoa, so different than my version of A Course in Miracles. But when you can read things and see things through a lens of love, whether it's the Quran, whether it's Jesus, whether it's A Course in Miracles, Buddha, AA, whatever it might be, things are so much more powerful from that perspective. Kind of got off topic because it just blows my mind. The more and more I read about Jesus, the more loving I find myself being, the more forgiving I find myself being, and the more simple spirituality seems, right? Like, what did he teach? Love one another. What did he teach? Forgive people, right? Don't just love your family and friends, because if you just love your family and friends, then what do you have? Love your enemies. Forgive people. Remember that it's done unto you as you believe. As Jesus was going around and doing all of these miracles, he would finish them with saying, it is done unto you as you believe. Some people believed that he had to touch them to heal them. Some people said, no, I think you can just say that my son is healed and he will be healed. And Jesus said, it is done unto you as you believe. So powerful, so powerful. So before we go into our meditation this morning, I had so many notes of everything I want to talk about, and we're out of time. So here's what I do want to leave with. My understanding of Jesus is this, and this is really what to take away today, and this is really a thing to practice in your life, is that Jesus remembered who he was. There was no confusion about who his Father was. And remember, in A Course in Miracles, it says, your purpose is remember who you are and remember why you're here. You are love and you are here to love. That's it. And Jesus didn't have our confliction over this. Jesus didn't have our confusion over who he was. He identified with the love in his heart and his love for God and his love for one another. I was watching The Passion of the Christ yesterday, and when he's on the cross, and there's sinners on each side of him. I think there were thieves in the Bible. One of them says to Jesus, I deserve to be here. You do not. You are innocent. And then Jesus starts praying for the people who have crucified him. And the thief screams, look at him. He prays for you. He prays for you as you have him up on this cross. And that's what makes his story so powerful, is he never lost sight of who he was. Never lost sight of who he was. And then in his death, he proved that we are not our bodies. We are our spirits. He was reborn. His spirit lived on. You are not your body. You are not your name. You are not your job. You are not your bank account balance. You are not your status. You are not any of that stuff. You are a child of God, and you always have been, and you always will be. And when you identify as a child of God, instead of, this is my name, this is my job, this is my past, these are my past relationships, this is my history, this is my anxiety, this is my depression. When you do all of that, when you go down that row and you identify with that, it stresses you out. It puts stress on the body was not meant to handle. It causes chaos in your life. But, and this is what the spiritual path is. The spiritual path is, instead of identifying with what the world says you are and who it says you are and everything it says about you, instead you identify with the love of God that is within you. You identify with the God within you, the spirit within you, the living God within you. You identify with all of that stuff. Then you're no longer this pendulum just getting tossed around your world. Course in Miracles reminds us that we are heirs to the reality that we identify with. So if we identify with the spiritual world, we identify with God, we identify with love, we identify with peace, joy, perfection, that's just going to melt all that other stuff. And we talk about so often having a miracle mindset here. And a miracle mindset is a mindset that transforms you into a magnet for your greatest and highest good. The fastest way to become that magnet that's going to attract to you the relationships, the job, the money, the circumstances, the emotional, mental attitudes that are your highest and your best that God can see for you, the quickest way to do that is to forget your past. And for every moment to be born again. That when we, from this second on, you don't think about that past relationship. From this second on, you don't think about your issues with your parents. From this second on, you don't think about all that stuff. I remember one time, I promise we'll do some meditation in a moment. One time I was in a counseling session. I was visiting with my counselor, and she did an opening prayer. And in that prayer, she said, in this moment, we just sit down, everything that's happened before this session, we sit down, everything we know we have to do later. We can pick that back up later if we want to. And I remember just setting mentally everything down. My busy work day, everything. I just set it down in that moment. And then I was just like, oh, wow, I feel so light. And when the session was over, it was like, well, I can pick that back up if I want to, but I don't want to. So we're going to go into our meditation. Actually, we're so short on time, guys. We're not going to meditate today. I'm so sorry, but we are going to do a prayer. So let's join in prayer today. So if you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. Let's take 3 deep breaths together. Just relaxing in our seats, stilling our minds. And dear God, we invite you ever so deeply into our minds and our hearts this morning. And this morning, dear God, we simply ask that you remove the burdens from our minds, the burdens from our hearts, the burdens from our lives and our circumstances. We give to you any struggles we have today. If we're experiencing anxiety or depression, frustration, we give it to you. If we are experiencing financial hardship, employment challenges, we give that to you. If we are experiencing health problems, we give that to you. If we are experiencing any challenges with our families, our friends, our home life, our career, dear God, you know where each of us are struggling, where life is difficult. We ask you to come into our minds, come into our hearts, and take this from us. Clear out our minds, dear God. Let us be new today. Help us sit down the past. Just let it go. It has nothing to do with who we are. Dear God, help us to sit down the past, to sit down our over-identification with our body, and help us to identify with the spirit and the truth of who we are. Dear God, help us to identify with the love in our hearts, the peace in our hearts, the joy, the perfection, dear God. Help that to overflow into our experience, creating more love all around us, transforming the world from the inside out. Let's take a deep breath. And we're going to have a moment of silence. I want you to just say your own prayer right now. Dear God, help me. Dear Jesus, whatever words are comfortable for you, help me with. And just let God know where you need help this week. And we are so grateful. We're so grateful for this opportunity to get together, to worship and consider God and discuss about this stuff freely. We're so grateful. And so it is. And together we say, Amen. So before we wrap up, I do want to say I hope everyone is going to have a happy 4th of July. One of the great things about being an American is no one can stop this. No one can stop us from getting together and experiencing and talking about spirituality and religion in our own context of how we understand it, how we believe it. And that's one of our great many freedoms, is this opportunity every Sunday to do this. So much more I would love to say about Jesus, so much more I would love to say about 4th of July and America, but we don't have time. So just a quick reminder, guys, head over to loveisgreaterthanfear.org. I do want to remind you about the weekly discussion group that is coming up July 19th. You will get emails and information on what that's going to look like. And then also remember, I wanted to update you guys on our nonprofit status. So thank you so much, guys, for the donations. Whether you donated $5 or $216, whatever you donated, I don't have words. I'm just so grateful for you guys sharing your financial contributions with us. I've submitted the initial paperwork. This can take a couple months to get all the nonprofit stuff done, but the initial paperwork has been done. I filed for the EIN number, the 501c3. I'm going through the application right now. So I'm excited. I can't wait to tell you about the next steps. Based on what I'm learning throughout this process, it could be a couple months before this is all finalized, but the first steps have been taken. So thanks again for your contributions. That's really been helpful in paying for this. So if you want to continue making donations, remember, the donations that you guys make go towards a couple different things. It helps with the website. It helps with the StreamYard that I use, the softwares I use. It helps with the email campaign. It just helps with growing this so much, like all the stuff that's involved with that. And then also, this is really exciting, is I'm planning a live talk here in Scottsdale, Arizona, or maybe in Phoenix in the next couple months. And so donations are going to help pay for renting a venue to be able to do that. So if you feel served by today's message, if this resonates with your heart and you want to contribute to our center, you want to help us grow, if you feel, really comes down to if you feel that we've served you today, you can make donations on PayPal. It's at Love is Greater Center. I'm going to type it into the comments because there you go. I just posted that there. So you can make your donation there on PayPal at Love is Greater Center. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Next Sunday, we're going to talk about Buddha. So I'm really excited about this. I've always loved Buddha. Oh, there's the PayPal information. I love Buddha. What a great teacher. What great wisdom comes from him. So next Sunday, we're going to be talking about the life of Buddha as we continue our series on spiritual masters. So super excited about that. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for just being a part of what we're doing here. So I hope you have a great Sunday. Enjoy your 4th of July weekend, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye.